In the background, you might hear my cat Bianca, as you often will. And I have Logic going here on the setting male creamy lead vocal. Male creamy lead vocal. So if it sounds creamy, that's why. Today was a great day. I interviewed Greg Dale. And later on, my old drummer Jack called, and I interviewed him too. But Greg Dale has always been sort of an enigma to me. It's a guy I met when I first moved to San Francisco, maybe in 1985. And he was from Walnut Creek, which is might as well be from West Lafayette, Indiana, except it just has a proximity to the city. But everyone I ever met from Walnut Creek pretty much had the same upbringing as me. Suburban, relatively, middle class to affluent. And but Greg entered San Francisco, the music scene, in my consciousness when he was playing with Michael Dean of Bomb. And those guys just always like they seem like I was never going to be that cool. I'd gone through being a punk rocker in my little town and slowly dropping out of college while having a punk rock house. And by the time I moved to San Francisco, I was just over that whole even looking weird thing, cutting my hair. And I thought it was dumb. And then I moved here, got a job as a bike messenger, and no one in this city knew my history of punk rock or, even though my friends were doing the same thing out there in Indiana as everyone was doing here. I entered the scene here as a nobody at 21. It was like going to new high school. Being a bike messenger, I was going to new high school. I want everyone to like me. And when I moved here, I loved the Grateful Dead and punk rock and Pink Floyd and all this other stuff. But no one I met liked all that stuff. And I just thought, I slowly drifted into playing kind of music maybe that wasn't necessarily 100% me. But anyway, Greg Dale and Michael Dean and certain people in the scene that I associated with, they used hard drugs like speed and heroin, and they shot up. And I didn't really know what they did, but it just was like an extra step that I wasn't going to go. And but if I wanted them to think I was cool though. So years later, you realize, God, these guys are just as confused as I was, and everyone was searching for an identity. But Greg's a survivor. He's sober now. And like I like to get on this podcast, he's still playing music, and he probably believes in himself now more than he ever did. And I think that's great. And I had a great conversation with him. And so here it is, Greg Dill.
Taken care of?
I'm pretty darn close.
Sometimes it takes me a little while to get going at this age, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Prostate talk with the boys.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling, man. I mean, it's to the best of my ability with this fucking iPhone bullshit.
All right.
I got it before. It was a little scratchy, but the connection sounds good right now, so we'll just, the stakes are low, so.
All right.
So, you got off work early today, huh?
Yeah. Sorry for trying to change the deal. That's one of my bad habits.
Is it? Changing the deal?
Well, yeah, like, I don't like when people change the plan on me, but if there's an opportunity to start earlier or do something, I just always call people like, hey, you could do it earlier if you're just sitting around.
Well, I mean, it's the worst feeling is when you're sitting around waiting to do something. It's like it seems like it takes up your whole day, even if it's only an hour in the middle of the day. You know?
That's what I'm saying. So I'm glad we got it done a little earlier because now you can have the rest of your day to flourish.
I might even go bust down on Haight Street.
Man, that still sounded good.
Oh, thanks. Yours, I've been listening to yours too. Well, it seems like we're in the same boat. We
are.
Had some relationships, had some broken hearts, and we're still not quite over it. Still got to sing about it.
Something like that. You can turn a phrase, my man. You can turn a phrase.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I picked out a few little nuggets from listening to your latest one too. That I liked. I like to see. You know, this is the whole thing. I'm trying to. Mostly, I'm interested in talking to people that are still doing this. You know, whatever it is. Because there's so many people we know had kids or drug problems and then gave up and stopped playing music or stopped writing or whatever.
Right.
So I'm glad to see that you're still going.
Yeah, I mean it's a necessity at this point.
Yeah.
And
how? Go ahead.
Well, when we were talking about drug problems and things like that, and I've had all the problems. I think gambling's the only problem I've never had.
Me neither.
But
seems so tame compared.
But yeah, you think that you're tapping into some sort of muse, and people that you admire have always done these things, and for a while they work for you, and then at some point they don't. And if you're lucky enough to come out of it, it's much easier to get stuff done, and the ideas come much more often, and making yourself available to do it produces the results as well.
You mean like setting aside a specific time to write or something every day, or?
Yeah, oh sure, like any of that kind of stuff. Like I make time to do that most every week, and I'll be noodling around with something, and I'll come up with some piece of music, and then I'll wake up early and start writing. I'm better writing lyrics in the morning for some reason. It's like fishing.
Oh, I know, dude. You should see all the little scraps of fish around my house.
Yeah.
But you probably, like me, write way more words than you do music.
I do sometimes. If I'm not writing a lyric, then I'm writing a poem, just trying to clean my head out of a rut. But yeah. Do I write?
I mean, when I'm
not really quite sure.
You're not quite sure whether you write more words than music?
Yeah. I mean,
I think
it's about equal.
Who plays all the guitar on that new record?
The Bad Piano Sessions 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing a lot of the guitar on the record, and then this other gentleman, John Finkbeiner, who produced the record and engineered it, he plays some guitar on it, like some of the ambient guitars, some of the lead lines. But
there's one little thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's just one little spot in there where it kind of faded out with some jammy guitar, and it was almost like almost dead-like for a second. I was like, wow, Greg Dale's got some kind of. Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, that's me.
I don't see.
That's me. Now I'm horrified.
No, man, it sounded great. It's like this little jammy outro and like some kind of weirdly atonal scale thing. I totally caught my ear from the other room. I was like, wow, that's you though. Now you're horrified because I compared it to the Dead.
Yeah, well, I just got an aversion.
That's good that you still have that aversion. It seems like now, when I moved to California, like I love the Dead, but nobody else did of my age. Everyone hated them, but now they're fucking bigger than ever, and it's like, you know,
well,
fucking Chris sent me a Dead song. I mean, for Christ's sake.
Jesus. Well, we could spend we're about the same age, right? Mid-50s, mid-50-ish.
55 for me.
Yeah, 53. So we probably were experiencing the same thing in our high school, and there was a small contingent of dead people there, and then the girl that I was with, she was totally into it, and then she got catapulted into a group of people that were way into it, and I conversely saw 6 or 7 shows, and and I just didn't understand what was going on until I got loaded, and then I'm like, oh, but I can't listen to it. Yeah. I mean, they write great songs. There's some great songs. I wouldn't say anything bad, and you know,
I could care less. Like people, you know, talking to people about the Dead is like talking to people about Jesus. You're not going to talk. You're not going to talk someone into not believing in Jesus,
right?
You know? So, or you're not going to talk them into believing in Jesus just by fucking yammering at them. So,
and there's people that think the Beatles suck, and there's people that think sports suck, and it's all relative.
I know, dude. I don't like Dylan. How's that? There are people that would never people would never even talk to me because of that. And I think that's
terrible.
Well, you know,
this interview's over.
I knew putting that out there, but like I like some of the songs. I just can't listen to his voice for very long. That's all.
Right.
But this is why though, because when I was at the height of my punk rock years, which I was probably like 17, you know, I read this interview, and Dylan said he didn't think a good record had been made since 1970. This is like you said that in Rolling Stone. And I was just like fucking. What about the Clash, bro, or the Sex Pistols? You know, like so. I just decided I hated him at that moment. You know, so
he was including all his records in there because that's his most prolific period.
He was probably mostly talking about himself, but yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, let's go. I've already derailed the interview. We got to go back to high school. Where did you grow up? Walnut Creek.
Yeah, Walnut Creek.
And you knew the Wades all the way through like high school. You met them.
The Wades, I can't quite remember when I met the Wades. I think high school.
We went to the same high school though.
John's my guy.
Yeah, because he introduced me to you.
Right.
I don't remember where that was, but somewhere.
I don't remember. I was trying to, before we did this, I tried to remember where that was too, because at some point we became more familiar with each other, but a lot of the times you were the guy that was just holding court at the pool table at, what was that bar next to the night break?
El Mirio's.
El Mirio's, yeah. And you're just a real good pool player that never smiled.
my mom always says, I remember when you used to smile. And like, even my wife, like one time she's like, how come you don't really smile? And I was like, I am smiling, look. And I made my smile face, and she was like, that's horrifying. It looks like I don't know, dude. I think it's just a muscular thing, because I feel like I'm smiling all the fucking time.
Right. Well, that's good.
But you can't show any fear there by the pool table, man. You can't smile, so.
Right.
Yeah. Talk about substance
business over there.
That substance abuse, that was my biggest addiction, was just going to that bar and being on that pool table, you know. It was like, it's like everything. It was retarded.
Right.
So, okay, with high school and with Wades, and then when did you start playing music?
I started playing when I was like 12. It was one of those things where I really wanted to play for several years before that, but my parents, I flaked out on a couple of things that they wanted me to try out, and I wasn't into it, like swim team and Cub Scouts. They're like, well, if we, you know, you'll quit, you know.
If we get you a guitar.
And I didn't think it was a fair assessment, so I ended up getting my own guitar, and then I taught myself out of my dad's ukulele Christmas Carol book. So, I was plugging away at Silent Night, getting some songs going. And after, my friend Joe Heavey lived down the street, and he's still playing music. And he was a great influence on me. He was the stud drummer of our school, and he switched over to guitar and stuff, and super encouraging. And of course, they had older brothers over there that had all the music that I wanted to.
Right, the older brothers.
Yeah, but I sort of liked punk rock, but I was never in. I've never considered myself a punk altogether, because I could not say anything negative about Neil Young or Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin.
I could say plenty negative about Led Zeppelin, but yeah, no, I never thought of you as a punk though. Like like when I met you, you were like, like dark figure, sort of troubadourish, gothy maybe. I don't even know if we had all those words,
Yeah,
but not punk rock.
A little smelly.
I don't remember that. I don't remember how you smelled back then. Neither one of us probably smelled that great, but so that I didn't know you started playing that early though. At 12, you're like reading that's pretty cool. What about
I wasn't reading music. I was playing the chord shapes.
That showed you the chords, and then you already knew how the song went in your head. Yeah.
Yeah. Silent Night. Fuck, that's
right,
a layup.
Of course. One of my greatest fear in life is that I become popular and they ask me to sing the national anthem, and it's revealed that I can't even hold a note.
It's true. That song's not for sissies. I'll tell you that much.
Definitely not. If I want to hear it in a super low bass voice, maybe.
I think I'd have to do a spoken word version with someone.
Is it going to have reverb? Will there be reverb there besides what's in the stadium? Can we have some reverb?
And some guy back there with a beatnik hat and some dark shades. I'm playing bongos. Oh, say, can you see?
Wow. That's another level right there.
You got to do it. You got to do it right.
Was that what your first band was like then? The bongo guy, was he in there?
No. The first band was a cover band. And yeah.
What covers were you playing?
Oh my God, I'm not even going to mention it. I'm not even going to say.
Come on.
Oh man. We played.
So you're 2 years younger than me.
Should I stay or should I go?
Right.
We were trying to do weddings and stuff, so we did like Ventura Highway, Sunday Bloody Sunday. What's that Doobie Brothers song? Down around the corner, or down around the corner, half a mile from here. See that long train running. We did that. We did Talk to You Later by the Tubes. Yeah. It was
That's
fun.
cool. And did you guys play at your high school?
Oh, we never played at the high school. We did play one wedding, and we got blown out of there by a band that was almost like Los Lobos.
Yeah.
We played our stuff, and everybody's just sort of looking at us, and then these guys came up and just did like La Bamba and all this great rock and roll, and I learned my first lesson on you suck.
That was your first time.
You need to go back into your room and play some more guitar.
That's cool. And so did you then?
Yeah.
What was your first, then when did you move to the city?
Gosh.
From Walnut Creek.
85 or 86, does that sound right?
That's when I moved there, so it would have been around the time when I met you anyway.
Right. So where did you move out from?
I would move from Indiana. I had come out to California, to San Diego and LA, and gone back to Indiana like twice.
Right.
And then I was like, well, I'm going to live in California, so it's going to be San Francisco. And I'd never been here, and I just drove out here with my wife and my dog and 2 cats, and that was it.
Dang. And is it just still you've been married this whole time?
No, I've been married a number of times, we'll say.
Okay.
But currently I'm married to a lady that I've been with for like 15 years now. So.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
she's awesome.
She's awesome. But I had a lot of relationships, I think, when I was younger, because I was trying to find this stability that, I had like being bipolar, I had this wild side and then this side that just needed to nest at home and be like, have like something I can count on. And I think that drove me into a lot of relationships that maybe weren't even,
relationships.
Sometimes you look back and you go, compared to what I feel now, I didn't even love that person. Like
right.
As time goes on, your understanding of love changes, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess for me with relationships, and I ended up having a child when I was super young, and I'm still friends with that mother, and the child passed away 14 years ago when he was 17.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But the thing is like my biggest flaw was I'd get out of a sort of a long-term relationship, and there's been about 3 or 4, and then I spend time like I'd screw it up. It was there's this great line by Greg Allman that I read somewhere, and after a 7th or 6th or 7th divorce, and he goes, I'm beginning to think it's me.
I know. It's my friend Kurt said the same thing. A bunch of relationships and various things happen, and he's all. I go, well, who was there every time? That basic AA thing where you go,
right.
Who was there every time all that stuff happened? He's like,
right, exactly.
Me.
You're not an AA person, are you?
No, I'm not sober. I've tried to. I've gotten I've spent time sober, and I'm more like a self-help junkie kind of dude.
Right.
Like we used to back in the day at the house in LA. That was high entertainment. We would like sit around and listen to self-help records and smoke weed and laugh about it. Listen to this. But then after a while, fucking all the shit seeps into you, and later on when you need it, you're like, hey, maybe that guy on that funny vinyl record I bought had something to say,
Yeah, it's true. I am in the program at this point. I tried to do it myself too. I quit drinking and smoking on the same day. Then I started having feelings about 2 or 3 months later. I'm like, what is this? I've never had these before.
No, you started dealing with your emotions?
Yeah. And so then, I was fake sober is what I call it for 6 or 7 years, and the programs helped me out, and actually probably the reason why I'm in a decent relationship right now, just because I've been able to be accountable for my own stuff. So it's been good.
Yeah, I've tried before to work through a lot of the steps or just come across those concepts in other places, and it's definitely like, I wouldn't knock it. Like some people say, I could just never go to the meetings, Right. And it's like, well, why not? You might get something out of it, because the ones I've gone to, even if I wasn't sober, are still like, it's, to know that other people are suffering is one thing that's like, and putting it a little bit away from yourself and realizing, hey, I'm not just the only guy doing this.
It's true. It's like, it's hard to ask for help. So if you can do that and, throw in the towel a little bit, because I'm sort of a self-help guy too. When I got when what I call the fake sober thing, before the feelings kicked in, and while I was riding that little cloud, I'm like, well, this is great. What else do I hate about myself that I can fix? And I started, and then I hate that I'm angry all the time. I hate that I'm a jealous person. I hate that I'm an asshole. And there's and you pick out these character defects, and basically I only thought that I was an asshole, but it turns out there's about 150 character defects, and I've got a little bit of all of them.
And maybe that they're not even defects. They could be strengths if you just polish them the other direction,
That's true.
That's the way I look at all. Because I'm angry.
I told my friend
jealous.
Junker, like I said, I don't want to, but I said, hey, I said, so you took the high road? He goes, yes, I did. The better vantage point for an attack.
Yes. Oh my God, dude, that just made this whole interview right there. If I could just remember that one thing. You know, I'll tell you that. You know, did you ever read that book, The Four Agreements?
I was just talking about it to someone today.
I told my friend, you need to read that again, and so she got it, and I was like, now listen, I'm going to tell you, I've worked it down to there's only one agreement, and this is going to be my new self-help thing that I want to do, and it's called the citizen jerk equation. And at any juncture in your life or day or whatever you're doing, you have the option to be a citizen or a jerk, you know, and
right.
It applies to yourself. Like if you think of yourself as a community, you want to be a citizen to yourself.
Right.
So, you know, anyway, back to you, Greg. I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's a good point. But you know, like it's a lot of that has to do with a jerk is the pardon the pun, but you're a knee-jerk reaction to something. So how do you, if you're going to be a jerk, you get triggered by something. So how do you buy yourself enough seconds to not go by your first impulse? And that's my whole thing. Like,
yeah, and have you
fucking run in the other direction at 100 miles per hour.
I mean, can't you just laugh? Like I've always just laughed at people when they do that to me, when something triggers me, like, which is not good, but it's like better than immediately punching or yelling. Right.
Well, I've been trying to be more communicative and with that's the way you pronounce that word, to communicate better with people. And I notice that most of the times, and it's mostly I've got it down to where I'm fine with the real world, but it's the people that I know best and know me best that I still, and the last people I want to be a dick to are so you try to communicate with people and they just can't help it. It's like you draw a big button on your chest, like, this is how I'm feeling. And then they're like, that's how you're feeling. And they just press it. Like, that's the feeling.
Are you saying do you have people in your life that recognize your button and will willfully trigger it?
I say with this communication thing, that's what it feels like sometimes.
It feels
when
like
I
that.
when I paint the button on my white shirt with my Sharpie, and I write button on there, and then they're like, they just have to push it, and I probably deserve it. But
in your mind though, you're writing the button, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you're placing it there, knowing that they will push it.
I didn't think that was going to happen because I was taking suggestions like you need to communicate more, but I noticed that they were pushing it.
Huh. It's
I
tough,
don't
man.
Stop communicating. I just got to stop reacting to it when they push it.
Right. Or
callous the button over.
It just no, you don't callous it over. You got to get it to the point where the button just sort of dissipates into the air and like little particles.
Yeah.
And you realize
that's even better. See,
it's not even coming back. See, it dissipated.
Now I'm glad we had this conversation.
Right on.
What about Micah? When did you meet him?
Micah Charlot?
Yeah, Micah Charlot.
I was thinking when I was waiting to call you, like, I was just picturing Micah's face because I associate you guys, like,
right. I
was just thinking how cute and impish and just irresistible that guy is.
Right.
And how, out of everyone, that guy should be just on the cover of fucking Guitar Player magazine, shredding it in some fucking,
Yeah, so for people that don't know who Micah Charlot is, he's a mutual friend of ours, and he's a great guitar player and singer. He's also like a Renaissance man that can sort of like do everything really good. And he's extremely handsome. It's like if you're the pitcher and you pitch it, and then the catcher throws it back 3 times as hard as you. He's the catcher. Micah, yeah, I met him at Silver Bullet. He was a Silver Bullet messenger. Not that he's not perfectly capable of fucking his life up extremely, but he is.
we got to have like a dual episode sometime with him on.
Oh man, I'd love that.
Micah, you know, I tried to be in a band with Micah, and
right.
Up until right about then, I thought I could play guitar. And you know, Micah comes over, and he just like, he's the fucking wizard, and he tried to show me these riffs and these off times, and I just couldn't do it. And then after like the third practice, he didn't show up, and I called him and went, you know, dude, are you coming to practice? And he's like, oh, it's a long bus ride, bro. I don't think I want to do that here. It's just like bowing out without saying, you suck.
Right. Was that the first? Was that Transcendental Hayride, or was that the?
No, that wasn't until L.A. No, that was the first edition of Scapegoat Lemonade.
Okay, right. I remember that band. I remember the flyers for that band. But then he came back and did Transcendental Hayride with you. He
filled in at like 2 or 3 gigs for the Hayride at the very end.
Right.
At the very bitter end when it all petered out in 2005. Right. Here's a great story about Micah. Like people that don't know him, I mean, whoever the fuck listened to this, who cares? But so Micah, you know, we're kind of like this jam bandy thing. Everyone in the band thinks we're a different thing. You know, I have this grandiose vision, and really we're just a bunch of guys driving around getting fucked up jamming on these songs that were pretty simple. Most of them didn't have bridges, but it involved a certain amount of guitar heroics to be in that genre. So our one guitar player, you know, Kurt's out of the game for a little while, and Micah steps in, and we go play this thing called Earth Dance in Northern California, like Wavy like Wavy Gravy's place, and it's like Sunday morning now, and we played one show earlier, but like now it's Sunday morning, we're opening up this main stage, and everyone's just like sleeping out in the tree, like thousands of people, and Micah just plugs his Les Paul into his Marshall and just fucking lets go like a Slayer onslaught level loud chord. It just goes ringing out, and people are like shouting and running towards the stage from every direction, like, no, you have to turn it down. It was so fucking hilarious. Like, it's just like, it was so signifying too of like, this band is over, man. We can't. We're in an identity crisis.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, if you've been wondering, I just do recall when he was doing that he was always, because we were working together at that point, doing irrigation and planting and stuff, and he would always talk about you really highly, and he's like, man, Dano's got some cool shit going on over there, bro. Bro.
It's, you know, it's funny because if I'd have gotten in touch with him like a few weeks before when he got in touch with me, I think he just, you know, got on the website and emailed me. But we had a tour planned, and I might have gone on tour for a long tour with Micah if I hadn't him, because the other guy's just gone for a while, you know.
Right.
But anyway, then Micah instead gets married, has a kid, and then leaves, you know, and goes pot in the fucking mountains. Crazy life.
Yep.
Anyway, enough about
Something
Micah.
Like that. Yeah.
Let's get back to Greg Dale.
All right.
The Greg Dale story. Let's bridge the gap. You come over, you're in San Francisco, and then the next thing I know, what was your first band here?
Well, I guess the relevant point where I would even equate into whatever scene I equated into was when I started a band with Michael Dean called Jill the Witch.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And I met Michael Dean, who was in a band called Bomb with Tony Fagg and Jay Crawford, who were they on on some label like Boner, or anyway, they had a few albums out and they were sort of subcultural phenomenons there. And I met Michael at a club, and he was passing out flyers, you know, and he says, do you want to drive in a van around the country and do this and that and this and that, and let's start a band? So we did it, and we got Doug Hilsinger to play drums. So I essentially had the other greatest San Francisco guitar player playing drums. That's not intimidating. Have you ever heard him?
I've heard Doug Hilsinger. I mean, the first for the Freak Show, me and Alex's band, my first band here. We played our first show with Bomb for their first show in some party over on Oak Street. But Hilsinger, he played drums in the band. I thought he was a guitar player.
No, I was a guitar player, and he was the drummer. Well, they got the best incarnation of the band was a 3-show run where Tony Fagg came back and played drums, and Doug and I played guitar. And then it was really tight because Tony's like a human metronome, and he makes sure that he knows exactly where we're going to be and what's going on. It suits his style of drumming more, so it really tightened things up.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty good shows.
I used to watch Bomb play, and that Tony was like the sickest drummer ever. And I just remember thinking, like, God, I wish I could get a drummer like that, you know. But I didn't have anything to offer a drummer like that. So,
well, he's back in San Francisco now.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking to do something.
Well, let's
keep that in mind when you're out there busking.
The thing about busking is I got a miniature guitar that doesn't hurt my back. And I put on my electric guitar, I think, okay, if I could even make it through practice, much less a gig, so fuck it.
Right.
You know? But anyway, so you got in Jill the Witch.
Right.
Did you guys put out some records?
We never really did anything. We did that we did that, and then Bomb sort of got back together around the time Tony came back, and then they got signed to Warner Brothers, and so they went off and did their thing, and then I started another version of Jill the Witch with some other guys, and that lasted till we made one good demo tape, I think, but you know, yeah, I was sort of way out of my mind doing that whole thing. So I was glad to even have some guys to play with and give me some purpose to be in a band. But I was sleeping in people's broom closets and.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Were you like shooting up dope at this point?
No, I never really did that. But I was a methamphetamine guy.
That's what Micah got into too, I think.
Yeah,
you guys lived together for a while.
There was a lot of us out there. No, I never hung out with Micah during that. That he was from my neck of the woods back when we were younger. I guess PTC was out there, but we never knew each other really back then. I don't recall.
Shout out to Part-Time Christians.
Yeah, Part-Time Christians.
So then after Jill the Witch was over, where were you?
Then after Jill the Witch was over, then I was living in the Avenues with my second long-term relationship, and then I moved up to Portland to learn a trade, and I just kicked drugs, and I was kicked drugs, and I was a drinker again. I was doing normal things, I was working.
You mean
working at the bowling alley
sober?
and what's that?
Is that what you mean by being fake sober when you're just don't do drugs?
No. This was just transferring alcohol for drugs. Yeah. And then Portland was a great drinking town. Portland was. I lived up there for 4 years till 2000 and did some music up there and met some good people but it was my most wandering in the wasteland time. Like I couldn't figure out what I was doing musically. I didn't have a thing I wanted to do. I wasn't, like I'm writing two songs a year. You know what I mean? I was just trying to.
Yeah, that was my wandering time of exactly the same time, dude. Like,
yeah. I just couldn't figure it out. It's like, I just didn't. I felt like a round peg in a square hole or a square peg in a round hole. I was just out there. It's like my clothes didn't fit right. Like I sort of getting healthy, sort of getting fatter, sort of working, getting muscular, and I just couldn't find
the zone. and you really weren't playing a lot of music. You're just like kind of.
I did. I had a band up there, and we, but it just wasn't. I don't know. I lived up there. I love Portland. I stayed there tried it for 4 years, and then I came back to the Bay Area. And at
back
that point,
in 2000.
yeah, with that point, I started a band called Sorreltown Choir in 2002.
Oh yeah, I remember
And
that.
then like people, it was just starting to be a thing where, you know, we could make our own CD and we can, you know, put out our own records.
Right.
You know, that hurdle seemed insurmountable. It seemed like you just needed a lucky thing when, you know, I guess this all comes to like the discipline of learning more about what you're doing instead of like, I'm just going to sit here and play songs and hope I get lucky. You know,
Yeah.
hope somebody hears it because I'm this thing, you know, like come and find me.
That's been my whole life right there. It's still waiting to be discovered.
And then it's like, then you actually get into this, you know, like we did some demoing and stuff like that. And I've seen studios where you get in there and you start seeing how they work and you start, you know, you make a CD and then you do another one and you start the whole equipment's changing at this point. You know, it's gone from between two, you know, everybody's working at Pro Tools and you're like, how does this happen? And till finally, I start teaching myself how to do it.
On Pro Tools?
Early. I think I started in a garage band.
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
And I forget what Logic is what I use now.
Yeah, me too.
So if I record a record like that record there, I go in and I'll go into a room. And the one before that, Winter's Ghost, we recorded it on 2-inch tape, and then I'll go home and decorate. You know, I'll never have the money to see my vision go straight from tape to vinyl. It always ends up in the digital process somehow.
Right.
You know, but I've sort of let go of like, I'll just hold on to these tapes and I'll get discovered and then I'll make it a vinyl record.
They're going to remix it.
Right.
I always think that. I've got like 100 hard drives. I'm like, what if they want to remix that one techno song I did in you know?
It's true. It really is true.
Bad Piano, you're talking about So you went into an analog room and recorded the drums?
Yeah, we recorded drums and I got Edgar St. Gabriel. I was playing with Gary Floyd and Gary Floyd's Buddha Brothers, and the bass player there, this awesome guy named Edgar, who's just a great bass player and funny as hell. And we had become friends over the 2 years I was in Gary's band. And then I called my old drummer from Beth's band, Nightfalls, Beth and I's band, Nightfalls, and Rick. And then I had 36 songs, and I taught them about 13 songs, and they learned them in 2 rehearsals, and then we went in over 2 days. And then if I can just get the rough thing going, you know, just like good bass and drum tracks, then I can go home and work on it a little bit at home. But a lot of it's done there, you know.
You recorded that where? Here, though?
Yeah, at New Improved Recording in Oakland.
That was before you moved out to Ohio, then?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Did you finish in Ohio, or did that just take that while to get put out?
Yeah, I just took a year off to acclimate here because, like, you know, what's the point of putting out a record out here where nobody knows who I am, you know? So I was hoping I'd have 10 million friends here by the time. But
you know, like Scorsese can hear your record on the internet anywhere, though, and
right.
choose it for his next film.
True.
So
that's true.
Yeah. All right.
So the second part of that record is coming out at the end of February.
Who is the Bad Piano?
The Bad Piano is this is the first record I wrote a lot of the songs on the piano.
Yeah. And you're a bad piano player?
I'm fucking terrible. It's just,
not as bad as me, dude. I can't even. That's why Logic.
I'll play.
That's why I love Logic. Man.
I challenge you. I challenge you.
One bar at a time.
I have a huge tattoo of Beethoven up on my upper right arm. Like, I know what good piano playing is. I know how it's done, and I know. I think I can actually accompany myself on 1 or 2 songs and make it, you know, like if I sat in a room full of people, of songs that I wrote, and I could actually play it and not have to stop. But for this record, this guy Michael Bang came in and did the piano stuff for me, and he sort of kept it the way I wrote it because he says he's a great musician. He says no, I'd rather play it your way. I would never think to play piano like this.
I know, dude. That's what people would always say. It's the worst insult. Like my friend Kurt will go, I can't play the way you do. Like he's the greatest guitar player ever. And he goes,
right.
Go put yourself down, man. I can't play the way you do. What the fuck? Who would want to?
Exactly.
Speaking of tattoos, did you used to have a tattoo that maybe is covered up now?
Of what? That mutiny tattoo?
Mutiny?
What is it?
No, was it like a hypodermic, like a syringe?
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you. I swear to God, I remember back in the day, someone had like a big syringe tattoo, and it went right like into their, whatever vein. And
I remember someone having that too.
Who was that?
Probably.
I don't think they have it anymore. It seems like you had come to a point
probably
where
someone that's not doing so well right now.
Damn.
Probably someone that can't get a job.
Yeah, unless they covered that up. So
right.
Okay, that's we're caught up to where you're in Ohio and you just put out this new record, but there's been
right.
some years in between there, like 2005.
Right.
When did you start getting? Did you quit doing drugs and drinking and smoking cigarettes and everything all on the same day, or was it?
Yeah, that was like 2008. So.
And that was up until then. You did everything.
End of another relationship, and I realized, like I was not a great partner.
Right.
And this person had left, and that was my longest relationship. I think it was 4 or 6 years or something like this. And then I'm like, oh man, when she was gone, it became so clear what I had to do, and if I just did all this stuff she asked me to do when we were together, and so I quit drinking and smoking. I don't remember even how that went. I can't remember those two months when that happened. But yeah, I did, and then we started bouncing back. So from that point on, all the drugs that I ever liked to do, I stopped doing. Right.
But you brought in new ones. Yeah,
eventually new ones came in. I fucking, this is embarrassing to say, but I got addicted to opioids.
Oh, why is that embarrassing?
Oh, just because I spent so much, like the fact that I like Kate Bush now, and I used to just mock my friends relentlessly. I used to listen to her in the 80s.
What's the connection between opioids and that?
And just when you're a speed person, you're like on this team over here, right?
Oh yeah.
So you like heroin people are so whiny, it's like
But opioids, man, people get addicted that aren't even addicts,
Right.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like I don't like them myself. I'm so lucky I never really liked heroin or speed.
Right.
And I did plenty of it. Crack though is pretty good, but I have a bad back, and over the years when I would get opioids, the Vicodins, the day before I didn't even want them, but then as soon as I had the bottle of them, I can't wait till the fucking next one, and it's just like it's weird the way they prey on your mind like that. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
What it's like.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's terrible, And then I was back in doing the same things because I wasn't going to let everyone know that I was I was hooked on drugs again. So
right.
I did it, the smart way. Like no one was going to know. I was gonna, I wasn't gonna go broke doing it. So I just used all the tricks I used to know, and I was going in these long concentric circles, starting to hang out with people I would never even freaking talk to, And
right,
I'm over here doing this to get this, and And well, it's not that bad. And then you hear this guy like, "Oh, I'm spending $300 a day on pills," and well, I'm not that guy.
Of course,
and then
yeah.
it's like longer and longer, and it's just getting more complicated and more complicated. And then the thing that you were just talking about, not waiting to do the next one, and this was all too because I had a bad back too. So when I actually really messed up my back, then I had an endless supply of pills, and that's when things started to get out of hand. But still, even if I had a brand new thing, I'm like 51 pound time, I think it's counting pills all day in your brain,
How many more can I take today? Maybe I should double up here because I fucking stubbed my toe.
Exactly. Yeah, you're manufacturing a feeling to And I thought, when I hurt my back, I couldn't really work, and so I was doing, just trying to take any job, and I ended up taking care of a lady doing her shopping twice a week and prepping her food, and she was chronic, and I just saw how it consumed her whole life. Like every conversation, everything was about her and her pain, and she was never, the same way, like if I used the death of my son to be sad the rest of my life.
Right.
Like I could use my pain to be, like this could be my identity. And and I saw how it could quickly turn like this. And this lady was a PhD, et cetera. And, it was a shot over the bow.
And that made you think, I'm not going to end up like that.
Well, it made me think I wasn't going to end up on that, but I had to have a psychotic episode to actually stop.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask you. Like you said, you're going to do it the smart way. No one was going to know I was on drugs.
Right.
Like they knew, didn't they?
Yeah, people. It's
so easy to tell when someone's on fucking pills.
I know, their eyes are all pretty.
Yeah, and they won't look at you. And it's just like they have this furtiveness to them. I get that way myself when I went on the.
They weighed the same weight they did in high school.
Yeah, when I had my manic episode summer in LA, and I came up here and I eventually got hospitalized, but I weighed 137 pounds.
Right.
And like now I'm like fucking 190 or something, 180. I mean,
right.
That's crazy.
Where I am too.
I'm not going to go off my medication for a diet, but I mean, it's there. It's always there,
Right. So these episodes, I guess they're a little more common. I'm always interested when someone says, like you said, you had a manic episode or something. I'm just always curious to what that is, because I sort of call my thing, this collapse I had, where it was just so terrible, and when I came out of it, I wasn't really able to understand writing, and I could speak, right. I was just crying for 2 weeks, like just crying, because I never addressed anything,
Yeah.
And
when was this?
This was about almost 6 years ago. 6 years ago, almost to the day.
And where were you?
I was in Berkeley.
And you're at someone's house, or?
Yeah. I was living at my house with my roommate.
Oh, you're at your house, and you just broke. Like, what happened?
These drugs were eating me from the inside, so I was taking those stuff. I prescribed myself. What's that shit that you used to get off?
Methadone.
Methadone. I prescribed myself methadone to get off these pills. And I had a bunch of pills of methadone, and it's no joke that methadone gets you higher than any of the pills that you were taking. I don't even understand
dude.
the concept. And I knew that too when I asked them. That was my it's like they just get you higher than all the other kinds of pills.
But somehow I'll be clean magically. I know people that have taken years to get off that method.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I reserve, I had an opinion about those kind of people up until I had this epiphany, right? Like I had a hard time understanding how people were suicidal. And then leading up to this, I'm constantly having these thoughts about killing myself, and not like I would ever do it, but why, I noticed more and more that I was thinking about it. Like, where's this thought coming from, and I'd have half of the part of the day would be good, half would be bad, but I was just like, my body was eating itself. I was just losing more and more weight. I was covered, my upper body was covered in a rash, and I was starting to get open sores on me, and I just went down. I was supposed to be doing lights for a touring band in LA, and I just collapsed. And
lights out.
Woke. Yeah, it was over, and like I said, when I got up, I couldn't really understand what was going on, and I thought, like, because I've seen people like blow themselves up with too much acid or like whatever it is, and I said, have I done that thing? Have I gone that one over the line where I'm not going to be able to bounce back?
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, and I was just crying, and I was like, the only good idea I had after like 2 days of this was to call someone in AA, but I didn't really, I guess I couldn't go to anyone else because I couldn't put the people that I put through this before that thought I was doing fine.
You knew this person?
What's that?
How did you called someone you knew that was in AA though? Yeah,
I just got a random guy, like a rapper. He was a rapper actually.
How'd you get his number?
Rap music. I just knew him. He was a friend of mine.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, but I'm not someone I hung out with all the time. It's like the people that
you weren't in his posse.
I just called him, and he like came over and took me.
Good for him. Man.
Like I just understood. Like at that moment when I was sitting there, I understood what people that were depressed or just on the edge. I just saw what they saw, and for the first time, I'm like, I get it.
You had been there all along, Greg, and you just been medicating it, tamping it down.
Right.
The bipolar tortured artist, the fucking addict. That it's not me, it's them, it's those guys. Yeah, but dude, you just described my life too. Like those humbling moments are really good. So
yeah, it was profound actually.
That's what set you on this new path, then, right?
Yeah, it was the beginning. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have things that you're bitter about?
No.
What about your family growing up? I never even asked about that.
No, I got no complaint. My family's aces. When you come out and you throw yourself into the dark subculture, the soft white underbelly of San Francisco, you start meeting people with those fucked up families. So much abuse to people, and it's like, no, none of that for me. But man, it just seems like 3 out of the 4 people that I was friends with suffered through something like that.
Totally.
If it was even that low of a number, unfortunately,
I suffered through a cloyingly enablement my whole life. Like I know fucking crazy people that are out on the street that their dad just basically said, "Don't come home, don't ever come back here," And then my dad's like, my mom and dad adopted me and basically adopted like a fucking feral cat that would just bite just whatever, was nuts. And instead of "don't come home," it's like, here's a home. You'll always have a home,
Right.
So I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah, it's real lucky, right? And I feel, like I was the first guy. I mean, we have some alcoholism in our family. I think a little bit on my mom's side, and people that my mom's sisters married or whatever. So it's not really I don't think it's a genetic thing that I got, but my parents my family had to toe the hard line against me if, when they just didn't know how to deal with someone like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
that there was a time in my life where I was cut out. I wasn't able to see my kid for a while, and no one was really taking my calls. And you think about it, and I'm like, fuck you, this is my real family out here, But the fact is that's me. That's all me, I did that to myself. And those people, they just were doing the best they can to take care of themselves,
I could have used that.
And I'm glad they were strong enough to do that, because if it would have been, if they would have been enabling me, send it, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could have used some of that too, and maybe learned to take care of myself better earlier. Who knows? But the fact is, I still try to be here now. As cheesy as that sounds. And are you happy? Would you say you're happy?
Yeah, it's probably the happiest I've ever been. I'm pretty happy.
You still get like depressive episodes at all, or? I mean, I know you weren't ever. I'm not trying to say you're bipolar, but people still suffer from depression, whether.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have bouts that I could notice like every 3 months, seemed pretty regular, that I would go into a little thing for a couple of weeks. I've never chosen to take medicine for it, because I just don't want to. I don't want to know. I want to, I totally think it works. Like, we have people in my family that take it, and tons of friends, and my partner.
Antidepressives, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't take them. I think they're bullshit.
Yeah, it's not for me to say. I don't want it to affect my creativity. That's all I really care about.
Me too.
I don't know what it will do to that. And so I'll walk 100 miles and do, all the work that people tell me to do, to not have to take it,
Yeah.
So, and because of that, those 3 months have turned into, just rarely do I get super depressed. And sometimes I just, some days I just go to bed at 8. Like, I'll start again tomorrow. See if it's any better.
Yeah, it's a good attitude. I feel like I know I lost years of my life to depression, but it was just like you with drugs or alcohol, like whatever you said before, like it was still you. For me, it was still doing it. I still chose to lay on that couch and read that entire series of fucking, detective novels or whatever. I could have gotten up. I could have gone and volunteered somewhere. I could have gotten a job, like more than a fucking 20-hour week job, whatever,
Right.
But
isn't it funny how you yeah, totally. Isn't it funny how you can, like, it's almost sacrilege to me to think like, hey, reading's wasting your time. Like.
You know what I do now? This is my guilty pleasure. I have like my yoga mat down here in my garage, right in my studio, and I have a cat that lives down here, and she likes to lay on my chest. Like, I'll go to do some back exercises, and then since she's laying there and I'm donating my time to loving this animal, then it's okay to just look at Twitter or whatever on my phone, like, indefinitely.
Right.
Hilarious.
So you're doing lazy yoga with your cat on the mat?
That's what I do. We have a lot of cats here, and so every room there's pretty much.
I know you guys. You love the cats. I noticed that on your album cover artwork.
They come to me. What can I say?
I'm like, he took a picture of a cat. That's his album cover.
Is that one of my album covers?
There's the one for that Shagbark Lane is on. I listened to it on SoundCloud, I think. So you said there's a whole full length thing of that coming out? Because I want a copy of it.
You don't have Spotify, huh?
She does down at the shop, but I still listen to vinyl and CDs.
I'll put it up, but you can listen to Spotify on your phone.
No, I don't subscribe to it. I mean, my music.
Not there, Spotify, but SoundCloud. I mean.
Do you need an app for it?
I'll put it up, but you can listen to Spotify on your phone. No, I don't. Don't subscribe to it. I mean, my music's up there, but SoundCloud, I mean.
Do you need an app for it? Do you need an app for it?
You can go listen to it through a browser.
This is turning into the boomer episode.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, I'll send it to you. I heard that SoundCloud is going down like in a few days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're changing their format to like you can only have 15 songs or something, and there's people that have like just albums and albums worth of shit on there, and then it's going to be so. Anyway,
well,
I think
what SoundCloud worked great for me for was when I was submitting stuff to labels, and they have a feature on there where you can keep your stuff private and send the link. So, like you can send it. Hey, this is my record. Are you guys interested in putting it out? And then you attach the link, or and each song has its own email IP address, or you can just put a few songs or whatever, you custom fit it to the people that will never answer you back. And then but it's good for that,
Yeah,
that's what I used it for.
From what I understand, it'll still be okay if you don't have like all of your albums up there. I have like 30 albums I've done. They're just on my computer. It's like sometimes I'll put up a whole stream of them, and one person will listen. It's kind of like,
You've done 30 albums?
I've done a lot of albums. Like you said, when the recording started becoming easier and stuff, like, I was right in there doing that. And plus all the stuff that I had done before.
So that's sort of what I'd call sort of dark folk stuff that I listen to. Are those acoustic instruments, or are you playing through amps? Or are you playing through? You don't have to give away your secrets on here, but I want to know. I want to pick your brain on.
I think mostly on that album, I hate playing to a click, but I've done a shitload of electronic music and stuff. So I always like to mix drums and electronics. But nowadays, I've just winnowed it down to I'll just sit at my computer and just 2 mics and record the song, and then I'll add bass to it, and then I'll add synthesizer to it and backing vocals, and then at that point I kind of get bored with it and started recording a new one. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm hopefully.
I mean that's sort of how you do it. Like for me, that's how I learned how to record. For what I need to do is like, okay, how do I place these mics and make an acoustic guitar sound good? Just basic shit like that. How do I, and how do I get my vocal to sound? So you can't on that bad piano thing. I guess my biggest accomplishment of stuff that I've taught myself, and you're talking about old people that I have a super hard time with technology, and I realize that there's thousands of people, billions of people that know how to do everything. But one of my bigger accomplishments was, like you can't tell the vocals I did at my house on my $100 microphone than the ones I did at the studio with a beautiful fucking ribbon mic,
Right. That just tells you like that's really well recorded. Who mic'd up the drums and everything? Was that you?
That's John. I'd highly recommend if you ever want to take a band someplace, going on and talking to that guy. He's awesome to work with.
I don't even have. Sorry, go ahead.
He's going to play on the second half of this record. He lets loose a little bit, and there's a couple of guitar solos. He does a guitar solo at the end of one of these acoustic things. It's just an acoustic song, and he does like this acoustic guitar solo with an F-hold acoustic, and it is freaking devastating. I'd throw it up in the top 100 guitar solos of all time.
Right on, bro. I'm
serious. Hey, it's not me I'm talking about, so I'll say something good about it.
There you go. I mean, I have a drum booth right next to where I'm talking. It's a mic'd up kit in there. Goes straight to my computer, and I just haven't even had, my drummer come up from Santa Cruz, or even Chris Thomas. When I see Chris Thomas,
Chris,
I see him all the time, and we're always just about to record, but then we're just at the bar. Like I'm playing on the street, and he's at the bar inside. It's funny.
Right. Ah, man.
But I think it doesn't matter about the mics,
Right.
If you can't make it work with a 57 and a 58, then it's not a good song.
I had Are we drawn to an end here?
I think we're done pretty much.
Okay.
What you got?
All right. Well, I was just going to talk about, if we were done, I was going to tell you off the air about a near-death experience I had with Chris.
Wait, why does it have to be off the air?
Well, because I don't know if he wants it going out to everyone.
Chris Thomas will tell you his fucking social security number for a beer if you're talking to him. Hello?
All right. So I used to own a blue Mustang, and had blue hair and a leather jacket, and I was with my friend Lisa and Chris, and we were. I didn't have a place to live really. I was sort of living in and out of my car, but we were and Walnut Creek's a terrible place to be like that because it's like you stick out like a sore thumb. So I was showering in Texacos and like. But anyway, it was all fun and games. And Chris was playing drums with us at the time, and we were waiting for rehearsal, and we were up at Heather Farms Park drinking, and we were drinking White Russians. We had gigantic bottles of booze, and we were mixing these White Russians in the back of our car, and the cops came up and
your phone's cutting out a little bit.
The cops came up and didn't arrest us, and so we went to practice and got really drunk that night, and Chris and Lisa were having an argument, and I was taking Chris out to his house in Danville, I think he lived in, and the girl was in the right-hand passenger seat, and we're coming off on the off-ramp at like 65, and they're arguing, and she's like, fuck you, and she sits down and she looks at me, and I was laughing at them, and she grabbed the wheel of the car. Just spun it, and we just went, and somehow, like a lot of times, we didn't hit anything, and we didn't die.
Did the car roll over though?
But after Chris nothing happened. We just I dented one of my rims on the off ramp.
And the car didn't even spin out or anything?
It did spin out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what happened, but I know that Chris wasn't too thrilled when we stopped and he realized he was still alive. That guy was going off. He had some words.
Yeah, those things that happen. I've had some of those too, where you I could have died right there.
Yeah, it's sort of weird, like that thing where we were talking about earlier, where that episode, and I couldn't reach out to anyone I knew or whatever, and then these people just started showing up that I hadn't seen in forever, and they would come over, like little angels or something,
Do you have any faith?
I'm sort of a Buddhist person, but I have a spirituality, shall we say?
Did you ever have that down on your knees moment where you beg for I need help with this, whether it's like alcohol or drugs or a relationship?
I had that all the time.
I've had that all the time. I think that might be how we have to end it.
And I've used all those up, so now I've never asked for anything for myself as of late for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I'm the same way, dude. I did in a recent bout of sciatica, I was had this moment of okay, if you're there, just help me ease this a little bit. And I just really, really reluctant to ask for anything,
Right.
I've used them all up.
You used them up.
Well, listen,
time
man.
To start asking.
This was a good one.
Thanks,
and
man.
if it didn't work, the tape didn't work or something, I'll call you again. We have a whole different conversation.
All right.
But it was really fun. I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear your voice.
You too, buddy. Maybe one day we can collaborate on a song or something.
Oh man, we can, because we know how to use our pooters. Let's do it.
All right. Have a good day.
All right, man. Take care.
Late.
Bye.
Buy me a dollar, sell me some blues. Give me a holler, buy me some blues. And if you're gonna arrest me, propose again. Please don't pour it